Hello and welcome back to awtoolbox.com. My name is Glenn Keller, and in this video we are going to step into creating shortcuts inside of the Active Workspace client. And what we mean by shortcuts is going to be things like pinning tiles, so creating more tiles that are right here on the list and what we can and can't pin. We've already talked about tiles kind of in a nutshell, how to interact with them, unpin them, resize them, that kind of thing, but we'll kind of refocus and re-elaborate on the pinning technique. We will also be coming in and taking a look at doing what's called a favorite. So in here, notice there's a favorites folder in your Explorer, and that favorites folder, if you select it, will have a contents tab. So how do we get things in our favorites and how do we remove them will be another factor of this. And then in addition to that, we're also going to be talking about the assistant, which is over here, as well as the clipboard. And just note that depending on whether or not you have the features installed, you may or may not have the assistant. So to get going with this, the first thing that I like to do when I'm working with objects all the time is save them off somewhere with a shortcut so I don't have to perform a search each time I want to find them. Now, in previous videos, we have talked about saving searches and doing those types of things, so we're just going to kind of reiterate on it. If I have an object in my system, let's say I have an assembly component 090 star. So I'm just doing a basic search on this. And then I find that component, maybe it's this encoder. So I'm going to select it. And if I come over to the right-hand side, I could also right-click it. So if I right-click it, you can see that you have different options. Add to favorites, one of them. But if I come over to the right-hand side and choose Manage, notice there's an option for Add to Favorites as well as Pin to Home. So I can just click Pin to Home here, and what's going to happen is the button's going to gray out. So in Manage again, if I'm standing on the same object, notice that it says Unpin from Home now. So the button changes dynamically depending on whether it's pinned or not. And then if I go back to my home, you'll notice that the new icon is down below. So I can see that down here. So I can then right click it and I could unpin it from here, or I could go back to the object and choose unpin from the menu. I could also resize it and I can rearrange it if I wanted to be in a different group. So now that I have my new tile, you can see it's kind of popped over here for me. You can see that this tile is going to look a little bit different than the tiles before. Because I'm standing on an object that has associated CAD data, that data is being inherited as the icon of the tile. So this object has some geometry underneath of it, so everything about the object gets put up at the top, and then that thumbnail gets put here. Now, depending on the type of object it is, you may get little icons down at the bottom, but when you click it, it should open that object up completely. So then I could either unpin it off that home page, or I could come in and I could say Manage Unpin from Home. And you'll notice that if I go back to home, now that icon or that tile is gone. So I could do a very similar thing. So we just saw the add to favorites. If I come back in here and I want a direct link to this home folder or an object, I can say right click on it and say add to favorites. Now this is pretty redundant because the favorites folder is right above it. So we'll just go ahead and do a search and do that to an object we want to store off. So I'm going to do the 090 search in this environment, and I'm going to grab something different. I'm going to grab this bearing down here, and then I'm going to go ahead and right click on it and choose Add to Favorites. Now notice the star icon is white at the moment, and when I click it, the next time I go in and look at that, you'll see it's black. The reason for that is just kind of a visual indication. If it's already filled in, it's already added to favorites, and if you hover over it, it will tell you remove from favorites is now the name of the icon. So if I go into my Explorer now and I expand my favorites folder, I can see that object is there and I can select it. I could also right click and say remove from favorites, which will remove it from that folder. So pinning an object will put a shortcut to it on your home folder, but it won't it isn't going to add a shortcut for everybody. Favoriting an object puts it into a nice organized folder in here that you can then unselect it or remove it from the favorites later. And it doesn't take up the real estate with that tile on the main page. And then just note that the assistant object here has a lot of capabilities when it comes to identifying common buttons or commands that you run or places that you go or objects that you work with within a specific group. It suggests next actions to take against that data. So if I look at the assistant, it would give me some instruction up at the top if it was fully functional at this point. But out of the box, it also gives you the ability to switch between your team recent objects. So on your team, who's opened what. It gives you the ability to go to your favorites and see what's in there. I just removed it, so it's not in there. And then you can also go to your clipboard and you can see what's been copied. So if I right-click something and choose copy, you can see that there's some suggested actions up at the top here. So I could add something to it or home. This is a nice little window. It gives you kind of a quick link. You don't have to find the buttons. You could also say, I like this button. Or this being here to help your admins kind of configure this. You could also say, where is this button? So if I hit the little flashlight, you'll see it opens the button on the right hand side to kind of give you a tutorial on how to do that. Now in this case, I'm just copying. So I'm going to hit copy. And then if I go back into my assistant, you'll see that I get those 3 buttons in there, but I can switch this to my clipboard. And I can see my home folder is here. So then I could take it and I could drag it, or I could, I can't right click on it in here, but I could click open to open it up. And then I could close the assistant. So other places that you're going to see the clipboard is if you go to add. So if I come in here and click add on this table, you'll see the add panel actually has, if I move this out a little bit, a search, a palette, etc. up at the top, and the palette is going to include your favorites, your clipboard, and your recent. So if you are working with a component and you need to add a bunch of them to different assemblies, it'd be nice to be able to have it in your clipboard so you don't have to go search it and find it. Being able to favorite objects that you use constantly, maybe it's a reference guide that you need to attach to change objects, something like that. All of those are relevant use cases to utilize this palette, the favorites, and the pen.